parents. The future is moving fast, and too many of our youth are missing out on the coding, circuitry, and AI skills that will shape tomorrow's opportunities. And when STEM programs ignore Black history, our youth lose the cultural spark and legacy connection that gives them confidence, creativity, and power. We cannot afford that gap. That's why the UACI Virtual Winter STEM Camp is a must. From December 29th, 2025 through January 2nd, 2026, our youth will code, build microbit circuits, explore real AI tech, all while connecting STEM to the brilliance of their African heritage. Spots will go fast, so go right now to uacistemcamp.com and enroll your young geniuses today.
Family, make sure that you get your child enrolled in the UACI STEM Camp. Is going down at the end of the month. You heard the voice of Baba Amin Ojuoku, who is a co-founder of the UACI STEM Camp, along with myself. And family, it's going to be a beautiful experience for your children. For this iteration. It's always a beautiful experience. But I'm thinking, and I just actually had this thought today, I'm thinking about focusing on circuits and sending out kits where we actually build circuits. We focus on circuits, building electric circuits and analyzing electric circuits this go around. So that's what I'm thinking about, but I'm still in thought. It's something I'm considering. Before we get tonight's discussion started, family, make sure that you also head on over to meltrek365.com. Get your Meltrek, family. Get your Meltrek. All right. Meltrek is an animated series that teaches children Black history from a Black perspective. And if you go over to the website, scroll down to films. Actually, you don't even have to scroll down. Look at this. You come to the website, just click films, and you'll be brought here, and you can click on any one of our films and instantly download it. Okay. And so make sure you head on over to meltrek365.com. Download these films. I think it's great that we as adults, we have spaces where we can come online and educate ourselves on our history, but we have to make sure that we're also teaching this history to our children. All right. So at the bottom of the screen, you see the URL for the UACI STEM Camp. Make sure that you register your child ASAP. And also, family, at the bottom of the screen, you see the URL for Meltrek, right? Meltrek365.com. Make sure that you head on over there to grab or to download your copies today. We also, in addition to films, family, we have books, we have story books, we have activity books that were intentionally designed by K through 12 educators to help develop critical thinking skills. So make sure that you take advantage of these tools. All right, family, you see the title. And I know some of you who do study history probably think the title is ridiculous, right? Slavery didn't exist in Florida because of the Black Seminoles. See, family, I've been telling you that this tiny device, even though it's a tiny device, it's a very powerful device. And it's powerful because it shapes the minds of people. It shapes the mind. It shapes opinions. It shapes perspectives, right, of people. And so, I think that having social media, it has been a gift and a curse. A gift in that we are able to share ideas and information and resources and sell products and connect with people all around the world. But let me tell you what the curse is. Now it's deaf to the expertise. That's what Brother Alk always says. It's deaf of the expertise. Everyone thinks because they have access to Google or now Chat GPT that you don't need to listen to scholars anymore. You don't need to listen to experts. Just go to Google. Just go to TikTok or Instagram or X to get your information. And it's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and also malinformation that we are inundated with on a daily basis. And that's why it's always important, family, to read scholarship, listen to the experts, listen to the scholars, listen to the educators. All right. And so, yeah, that's what's going on now. It's really blowing up on Instagram. It's blowing up on TikTok. That slavery didn't exist in Florida because of the Black Seminoles. So you know what Dr. Maad had to go do. I had to go get one of our giants to come on to help me correct this misinformation and disinformation, right, about Florida. And so after my introduction, family, the next voice you will hear is from our great scholar, Dr. Gerald Horne.
Let's combat and fight back with maltracks. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.
A BB5 Hodie, a BB to me, a BB Wan. Peace to all of my thinkers, truth speakers, and truth seekers. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Ma'at. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And tonight I have with me another powerful guest, but he is no stranger to this platform, Dr. Gerald Horne. Doctor, how are you doing this evening?
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Doctor. And thank you for coming back. I know that you came on a while ago. I want to say it was during the summer. You came through the platform, and I appreciate all of the information, all of the great information that you taught me and that you also taught my audience. Family, right now, take a moment out to thumb up this video. Thumb it up, thumb it up, thumb it up. Also share this video. We want to each one teach one tonight. And in the 21st century, it's really easy. All we have to do is go to our social media platforms and share the video, and also drop the link in our family group chats, our friend group chats. And also, family, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you will be notified. And lastly, family, I created a Truth to Power Talk playlist on my channel. I brought on a lot of our thinkers, our great thinkers and scholars and historians such as Dr. Gerald Horne. I've also brought on Dr. Malefi Asante, Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Sadie Darity, and others, family. So make sure that you go back and that you check out that Truth to Power Talk playlist. Now, I see I got some Maadi and family in the building. Peace to my Maadi and family that's in the building. I see Dr. Dennis Assar Winkler's in the building. Peace to Dr. Winkler. He said, Amani Not Nguvu. He said, peace and power. Peace to Cuban Crisis. Peace and love to your family. I see that Anthony McHale is in the building. It said the Spanish enslaved Africans in Florida. Peace and love to you. I see Sister Rosa's in the building. She said, peace, family. Peace and love to you. Tim Jones, always appreciate you. Peace. Tim Jones said, peace. Hope everyone is well mentally and physically. Sending that back to you. Sister Mika is in the building. Peace and love to your Sister Mika. Brad Patterson is in the building. He said, what is that title about? I know, Brad. It's crazy. It's crazy out here in these YouTube streets and these social media streets. TK is in the building. Peace and love to you. I see Anthony. Anthony said, peace and love. The great Baba Gregory's in the building. Peace and love to you. Mr. T is in the building. Peace and love. Tamika Soso. Hold on. I am King Soso is in the building. He said it is important to be historically accurate. Absolutely. And Cuban Crisis said, yeah, this is extremely ridiculous. Ron says, B1 back to your family. I see Jesse is in the building. Peace and love to you, Jesse. Grand rising to you. And I see Niche Music is in the building. He said, Hotep to the fam. So peace and love to everyone under the sound of my voice. Let's jump into it. Let's jump into it. Dr. Horne. So I know when I called you on the telephone, I didn't call you. I actually emailed you. And I said, Dr. Horne, I need you to come on. I need you to come on, Dr. Horne, to clean up this, to correct this misinformation and disinformation concerning Florida. Because there's some young folks, there's a young guy, I'm not going to call any names. He's online and he's pushing this whole idea that there was no slavery in Florida because of the Black Seminoles. And even if you do a quick little Google search, it tells you that it was slavery in Florida. They tell you the cash crops that were being cultivated in Florida and by whom. And so they break down that whole history, but a lot of people aren't reading, they're watching videos. So Dr. Horne, I ask you this question, and I know to a scholar it's probably a ridiculous question, but was there slavery in Florida?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, let me begin by recommending the book by Larry Eugene Rivers. Slavery in Florida is the title. Territorial Days to Emancipation. I think the confusion might come from the fact that in Florida, you had Africans escaping from slavery and merging with the population, indigenous population we refer to as the Seminoles, to the point where, in some ways, when they were waging war against the European settlers, the Africans were in command in waging war. They fought 3 wars against the settlers, 1819 to 1820, the 1830s, and the 1850s. Some of you may be familiar with the leader Osceola, Osceola. You can look him up, of course. He was a vaunted leader. And because of that particular history, perhaps for whatever reason, this person you're referring to leaped to the conclusion that slavery did not exist, because you had these Africans in some ways working hand in glove with indigenous against the settlers. But that's nothing new. In my book on Texas, I talk about a similar pattern in terms of Africans escaping from the jurisdiction of the settlers, merging to a degree with the Kiowa, Kiowa. But I did not write that slavery did not exist in Texas, simply because you had that pattern. And of course, you had other episodes of what was called marronage, maroons, those who would escape the jurisdiction of the settlers. For example, in North Florida, not far distant from what is now Jacksonville, you had the so-called Negro Fort. And this is before Florida becomes part of the United States, which happens about 1819, 1820. But up until about 1814, you had the Negro Fort, which was marronage. There were Africans who had escaped from slavery and established a fort. They were very well armed. As a matter of fact, they might have been the best armed Africans before, not only before the U.S. Civil War, but perhaps even after the U.S. Civil War. Certainly compared to the Black Panthers, the 20th century iteration of armed Black people, they dwarfed the Black Panthers in terms of being armed. In fact, Andrew Jackson, who, as you know, became the U.S. president in the 1820s, I'm sure that many in your audience carry pictures of him around with them wherever you go, since he's on the $20 bill.
Exactly.
One of the reasons why Andrew Jackson became notorious, and of course, he was also the favorite president of Mr. Trump. In the Trump 1.0, he had his portrait on the wall in the White House. Andrew Jackson, with a lucky shot, was able to shoot a cannonball into the Negro Fort, which killed many of the Africans, destroyed the Negro Fort, and that catapulted him into prominence, leading him directly to the White House. As you suggested a few moments ago, or as one of your listeners suggested, the Spanish arrived in what they call Florida circa 1565. They were enslaving Africans, of course, to that point. But what happens is that slavery under the Spanish was somewhat different than slavery under the English speakers. That is to say that slavery under the Spanish allowed for some Africans to rise out of slavery. And in fact, when we talk about Stono's revolt in South Carolina, circa 1739, you may recall these were Angolan enslaved, Angola being in Southwest Africa. It's the bloodiest episode of slave resistance in colonial North America. What happens is that Black men in Spanish military uniforms, who have risen obviously out of slavery, come across the border to South Carolina to stir up the Africans. And perhaps all of these different facts are conjoined, leading people to conclude that slavery did not exist. Now, or perhaps this is something deeper. Perhaps people are embarrassed by the fact that some of our ancestors were enslaved, and so therefore they create this mythology that we weren't enslaved. But I prefer to deal with the reality, and prefer to deal with the resistance, because we need to resist today. I mean, it'll be like somebody in 2085 saying, Black people weren't oppressed in 2025. Where'd you get that nonsense? Police were not shooting Black people down in the streets in 2025. George Floyd, that didn't exist. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Perhaps because in 2085, they'll be embarrassed by the fact that we were being shot down in the street. I would prefer to study the history with all the accuracy we can muster and highlighting the resistance that led us to a new and enlightened stage.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Dr. Horne, go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
Well, ask me another question. I mean,
no, okay, no, because I thought you were going to. So you said it was definitely there. There was slavery there underneath when Florida was under, I guess you would say, Spanish rule. There was slavery there, but you said there was if you could contrast the settler slavery versus the Spanish slavery, because you said with the Spanish people, even though they did enslave African people, you said they still got an opportunity to rise up in the ranks. Could you talk more about that?
Well, sure, particularly if you converted to Catholicism. I mean, this is something I point out in a book I wrote some years ago. I know people, you want to keep a secret, publish it in a book. I'm well aware of that. But I went to great lengths to publish a book called The Dawning of the Apocalypse, which deals with the roots of slavery in North America. And what I point out is the difference between the English speakers and the Spanish speakers. Mm-hmm. The Spanish speakers privileged religion, privileged Catholicism. The king was referred to as His Catholic Majesty. And in Spanish colonies, for example, Cuba, as you know, 90 miles from the shores of Florida, you had a substantial free Negro population almost from the inception of the colony. And you had free Negro militia. Whereas in the English-speaking settlements, they privileged race. And I think that what oftentimes happens is that people don't draw distinctions. They think everybody was as backwards as the English speakers. And, maybe because they're not familiar with history. I don't know. I'd have to put the person on the couch to explore the psyche to understand why they come up with these conclusions. Mm-hmm. But in any case, what happens is that the race project wins out over the religious project. The religious project, and as a matter of fact, the Spanish were discriminating against European settlers who did not convert to Catholicism, for example. Mm-hmm. And one of the points that I argue is that this is implicated as well in the conflict between Catholics and Protestants. You know about Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King,
right?
Martin Luther, the man who once was with the Catholics in Germany, but breaks away from the Catholic Church because of perceived and actual corruption in the church. And that leads to the Protestant sect. And I won't go into why so many Black people in the United States today are Protestant, but stay with me and you might get a glimpse and understanding of why. What happens is that the Protestant sect, as it was then called, sweeps through England, sweeps through London in the 1530s. You recall the story of Henry VIII, the monarch, wanted to engage in divorce, and Spanish were very strict against divorce. Plus, he wanted to get his grubby little paws on Catholic property in England as well. So he breaks away from the Catholic Church, affiliates with the rising Protestants. That leads to a round robin of religious wars between the Protestants and the Catholics.
Right.
The Protestants ultimately prevail in what is now the United States of America, not least because almost improvisationally, they move away from religion as being a qualifier for settlement to, quote, race being a qualifier for settlement. Recall that I said a few moments ago that the Spanish, if you weren't a Catholic, you couldn't be a settler, even if you were a European. Well, those of you who reside in Maryland, which of course houses the city of Baltimore,
right,
may know that Maryland, of course, was settled by London, and it was settled originally by Catholics because they were not going down that road of religious sectarianism. They just wanted melanin deficiency. And the European Catholics were melanin deficient, so they could start a settlement under the Union Jack, under the English flag or the British flag.
Absolutely.
So,
no, I'm with you, Doc. No, I'm with you. And so there was, like you said, it was slavery in Florida, even under Spanish, occupation. It was there, and it was there under, settler occupation.
English settler and British settler.
English. Yes, English. You said English and British, correct?
Right. Because
So
and just to make the distinction,
uh-huh.
and maybe some of the people who are spreading this misinformation will listen to me and start spreading some facts.
Mm.
Britain is comprised of a number of different regions: Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, to name a few.
Mm.
And England is the majority, just like the former Soviet Union. Russia was the majority, but there are also Ukrainians and Estonians and Latvians, etc.
Mm.
And so at a certain point, England morphed into Britain, which incorporated Scotland, which English and the Scots had been in war, because Scotland had been predominantly Catholic. That was part of this round robin of religious conflicts that I was making reference to a few moments ago. So anyway, that's the story.
Yeah. So let's get into the Black Seminoles. There's some misinformation and disinformation regarding them. So you have the Seminoles, and then you have the Black Seminoles. Can we first talk about who the Seminoles were, and then who the Black Seminoles were?
Well, with regard to the Seminoles, that's a term we often use, and of course, the Florida State University teams are named after the Seminoles. But in some iterations, they are a branch of what we would call the Creeks, who also can be found in what is now Alabama, for example. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily draw a sharp line of demarcation between the Seminoles and the Black Seminoles. That is to say that at a certain point, Black people were leading people we call the Seminoles into war. And therefore, they were called the Black Seminoles, but they were also part of a wider so-called Seminole community, if you understand the distinction I'm seeking to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you say you wouldn't make a sharp distinction. And the reason why I think that I actually did, because you have some people who say, well, we are the Seminoles, meaning that we were those, indigenous populations. And I try to, I want folks to know that you do have those, Native American, you want to say Native American tribe or tribes. I don't know if they were, you said they were the Creeks. I thought that the Seminoles were like an amalgamation of, various Native American tribes, but you're saying it was really one. It was the Creeks, right?
Well, I'm just saying that at a certain point, the people we call the Seminoles at a certain point were considered to be part of the Creeks. It's just like, for example, trying to draw distinctions between and amongst people we now call Black Americans. Some of us had roots in Angola. Some of us had roots in Congo. Some of us had roots in what is today Nigeria. And so to call Black Americans all Congo Africans is a misnomer.
Right.
It's a misunderstanding. And to call all Seminoles Black Seminoles.
Oh, no. That's not what I'm saying, Dr. Horne.
No, I'm just speaking to some of you people perhaps in your audience. Mm-hmm. So, these sharp lines of demarcation are not necessarily helpful, for example, not necessarily appropriate or accurate.
Okay, so you would rather just use the term Seminoles. You wouldn't rather say.
No. I mean, I don't object to the term Black Seminoles. I just object to the statement that because there were Black Seminoles, there was no slavery, for example.
Okay. No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And so, could you talk about the Seminole Wars, Dr. Horne, that occurred?
They were quite bloody. Actually, if you look at my book, Negro Comrades of the Crown, the book in the first few pages talks about the impact of the so-called Seminole Wars. As I said, there were 3 of them. They were some of the bloodiest conflicts the United States military was involved in before Vietnam, or actually before the Philippine War of 1898. And as I also say in that same book, Negro Comrades of the Crown, in the state of Oregon, where you had settlers migrating in small numbers in the 1830s and in large numbers by the 1850s, they sought to bar Black people from the state of Oregon. That's one of the reasons why Portland, Oregon today continues to have one of the smallest Black urban populations in the United States of America. And part of it was because they were looking at the wars in Florida, and they were looking at the fact that Black people were allying with the indigenous population and inflicting bloodshed on the settlers. You had a similar process developing in Oregon with the Cayuse, C-A-Y-U-S-E. And therefore, the settlers decided that the better part of wisdom was to bar Black people altogether, which lasted for quite a long time. And this also gets to another kind of misinformation, because that was a noted tendency of the settlers, which was to try to bar Black people altogether. Unfortunately, some of the misinformed, and this is people who you might call liberal, they'll look at the fact that Black people are barred, which basically meant no slavery is allowed. And they come to the wrong-headed conclusion is that it was because the settlers are progressive. That's why they were barring Black people, because they didn't want slavery. No, they were barring Black people because of the security risk of having Black people who might ally with the indigenous to wage war against the settlers. I mean, if people are looking for a narrative and a story that conflicts with the pablum and nonsense that is too routinely taught in our schools, that's what they should be looking at, which is our allying with the indigenous, our fighting back on a regular routine basis, rather than sort of concocting these fantasies about no slavery actually existed.
Well, I think them saying that I think what they're trying to do, Dr. Horne, now it's a movement now where they're saying we were the indigenous populations. We didn't come from Africa. No slavery existed. We are the indigenous people. So you had these narratives now where people are using you have actual Black people now calling themselves indigenous. And you clearly said that what was happening in Florida was that you had the Africans who were aligning themselves with indigenous people, and they were warring against the settlers, right? But you have now folks saying, no, we are the indigenous. That's why we're not going to make a distinction. We're not going to say Black Seminoles. We're the Seminoles. And I mean, I know it's ridiculous, Dr. Horne. I'm telling you the information that's out there. They'll say we're the Seminoles. It's no distinction. It's no such thing as Black Seminoles. We aligned ourselves with them. Not that we aligned ourselves, that we are the indigenous population. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it reminds me, are they saying from the Atlantic to the Pacific that Black people were the indigenous population? Because how does that explain Oregon, for example, where they tried to bar Black people? The Cayuse did not have a pattern that the Seminoles had, for example, because Black people were generally barred. Now, see, here's where you have to make critical distinctions. And once again, if people want to get into this sort of thing, let me give you some targets and some facts that you can revel in and explore. Look up the Olmec, O-L-M-E-C, of Mexico, and look up the statutes of the Olmec, who resemble Africans. And the Olmec are considered the indigenous people of that part of Mexico. It's possible, historically, even before Columbus, that ocean waves were like transmission belts that could propel Africans across the Atlantic, whereby they could settle uninhabited regions, for example, perhaps like the Black Seminoles merge with indigenous populations, for example. So if people are embarrassed by slavery, okay, fine. Look at the Olmecs, for example. If you want to say that Black people are actually the indigenous people, which, by the way, is sort of an insult to indigenous people. It's like saying Black people don't exist.
It is an insult to indigenous people.
Right.
It is one. But I've heard that theory. And Dr. Horne, I always tell people be careful, because people say the Olmecs, if you look at the nose, if you look at the lips, they have an African phenotype. But African phenotype, what is an African phenotype? You have various phenotypes on the continent of Africa. All Africans don't have wide nose and thick lips, and then you can find that same phenotype in indigenous populations today that aren't sub-Saharan African people. Also, when they talk about, it was a wave, it was a current that possibly brought, West and Central, West Africans or Africans who were, Central Africans over here, to the Caribbeans, to the Caribbean, to the Americas. I'm not opposed to that hypothesis. But then I would ask questions. I would ask evidence of the boats, right? Evidence of, that technology existing back then that would enable them to come over. I would ask for more evidence. I would ask for more evidence, not just, I saw a statue and it kind of looked like it could be that. I would need more evidence. But I understand what you're saying, Dr. Horne. But yeah, I mean, this movement, people saying we're indigenous to the Americas, slavery never happened. So I think this whole idea of slavery didn't exist in Florida because of the Black Seminoles is also a way to support the idea that slavery didn't happen, because ultimately that's what that's what people are pushing. It never happened, this didn't happen. But
how do you explain slave revolts?
Exactly.
Turner.
Exactly. In maroon communities and Harriet Tubman. And now people are saying things like Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman are fictitious characters.
Really?
Yes, it's all on the internet. I don't even want to mention this guy's name that has a huge following. He has like 500,000 people following him. And he's saying things like Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner, but primary evidence, knocks that out. I mean, we have newspapers, we have contemporaries of Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman talking about them both. And so if anybody did a little bit of research, they would know that none of this stuff is true. But a lot of people are believing this, Dr. Horne. This is what they believe.
Well, with regard to the previous point, I should mention, because, we're trying to educate. So if people want to look up these theories about Africans in this hemisphere before Columbus, there's Ivan van Sertima's book that came before Columbus in terms of evidence that you were looking for example.
I read it, Dr. Horne, but I don't agree with it. But go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you agree with it?
I mean, I saw the writings. I mean, I saw how he tried to, he compared Mayan script to African script. I saw that. He talked about the current. He talked about the Olmec heads, and I just a lot of what he presented. It doesn't. Science doesn't support it. I'll just say that. I'll just say that science doesn't support it. DNA doesn't support it. Fossil findings don't support it. It's just so I don't want to, he's an ancestor. I appreciate his contribution, to this work or this conversation. But I don't want to beat up on his work too much. But a lot of the stuff when I put it through, when I really put a critical lens to it, it did not convince me that we were here before Columbus.
Well, but I should also say, to cut to the chase, as they say, I think part of the problem, in my estimation, is that people are embarrassed by the reality of slavery. And so therefore, they want to eradicate and erase that history because they don't feel that history is very useful today. But I disagree, because I think it does a disservice to our ancestors, for example. We opened the door, for example, to some people coming along decades from now, perhaps even tomorrow, saying Black people don't exist.
Exactly.
It's we came from outer space, whatever.
And down in Florida, what were the crops or the cash crops that were being cultivated in Florida, Dr. Horne?
Well, cotton, sugar. Sugar, of course, is a primary crop of Louisiana. Cotton is a primary crop of Mississippi and Alabama. Keep in mind as well that for various reasons, Florida did not develop like its neighbors, Georgia, Alabama in particular. And I would argue because of the fierce resistance of the people we refer to as the Seminoles, and some might say the Black Seminoles, which at a certain point led to them being ousted altogether. And so if you look at the statistics, you'll see that Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia had much larger Black populations than Florida, at least before the U.S. Civil War.
Mhm.
Now, since that time, of course, the Black population has risen in the state of Florida, just like the population of Florida in general has risen. It surpassed the state of New York. It's now the third most populous state behind California and Texas. And so perhaps if people were looking for a story of heroism, they could study, if studying still takes place, the resistance of the Africans in Florida, which led the U.S. authorities to try to oust them all together, which then led to a smaller comparative Black population in the Sunshine State.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And earlier today, you mentioned, well, earlier in the discussion, you mentioned a particular, I guess, Black Seminole leader. And I wanted you to talk more about him. You said, I know you all heard of, Osceola. Mm.
As a matter of fact, you'll find some of our ancestors carrying his name, oftentimes as a middle name, for example, Osceola, a heroic figure. I mean, there's so many heroic figures in our history, and it's really a shame and a sin that they're being swept under the rug. I guess, as I said, people are embarrassed by Florida. But he was such a fierce fighter and resistance, as I recall, after he was captured and executed, he was decapitated, and his head was sent to a museum in South Carolina, as I recall. That, you can look that up to double check what I've just said. But I think he needs to be inducted into our informal Hall of Fame, along with Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth and Nat Turner, for example, because I think that if we're trying to learn the lessons of history, we should study those who resisted and then try to live like them, for example. Because if slavery didn't exist, well, then perhaps the discrimination and persecution that we face today is a fantasy and doesn't exist, because some of us argue that the discrimination we face today is a direct outgrowth of slavery.
Absolutely.
And so if slavery didn't exist, perhaps discrimination doesn't exist today. Perhaps racism doesn't exist today. Perhaps persecution doesn't exist today. I mean, that whole philosophy is like a house of cards waiting to be blown over. And so I'm not sure what the intention is of those who make up these theses, but I hope they realize that they're quite dangerous. I see one of your audience says, my aunt's name was Osceola. And then somebody says Osceola.
Don't worry about it, Dr. Horne. Let's continue talking. It's going to be a whole bunch of comments. Let's continue talking. But you said that you think that he did, because a lot of people don't know about Osceola. A lot of people know about, like you said, Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, but they don't mention Osceola. So Osceola was what you would say, well, you would say Seminole. I would say a Black Seminole. But what about his background?
Well, see, here's another story. I mean, because you get into these strange definitions in the United States of America. For example, his mother was so-called mixed race. And his father was likely Scott. His uncle was a so-called Black Seminole leader. His mother was also a Muskogee and Taino ancestry.
So she was
of course, Taino are the indigenous people of what is now Puerto Rico. And that's another question about the fact that people were traveling back and forth or being shipped back and forth from the Caribbean to Florida. But in any case, what happened?
So Florida was a part of the transshipment trade as well, because I know in the Caribbean you had the transshipment trade going on. So Florida, they were shipping folks from the Caribbean to Florida as well.
Of course,
I know they were doing it to South Carolina.
And people were escaping to the Bahamas, for example, particularly after Britain abolishes slavery in the 1830s, the United States, not to the 1860s. And that opens up the possibility and the probability that Black people in the Bahamas were assisting their brothers and sisters across the Florida Straits in Florida. And the point I was making before is that because Osceola had all these different bloodlines, I mentioned Taino, Scottish, African. The United States, of course, they have the so-called one-drop rule.
At that particular time, yes.
if you have any kind of African ancestry, that means you're Black. And of course, materially, the basis for that was that it expanded the basis of enslavement. Because if you had any African ancestry, you could be Black. I mean, you could look like George W. Bush, but if they could show that you had any African blood, so-called, then you could.
And you got classified.
You could be classified as a slave, which means that you could work for free and to the benefit of some other person. And of course, that one-drop rule was not necessarily the norm in the Americas as a whole, for example. I talk about that in my book on Brazil, where of course, they had a different sort of racial categorization, just like you had a different sort of racial categorization in Southern Africa with the population we oftentimes refer to as the so-called colored population, for example, who would be referred to as Black on this side of the Atlantic. But all of these definitions are not scientific,
right?
They're rather arbitrary. And oftentimes they have a material basis in terms of increasing the profits for some settler.
Yeah. And I see someone in the comments, you said slavery was in Florida, but it wasn't successfully implemented. Are you listening to the conversation? And see, Dr. Horne, I just want to do a quick Google search. I often recite this this definition to my students at I don't even want to say where, because people be calling the university. So I'll just say my students. I'll just say my students. But this definition right here, listening comprehension. So listening comprehension is the active skill. So I want to pause right there. Listening comprehension is a skill. It's a skill. Okay. Is it something that people just get? Nah, you had to develop it, right? So skills are things that we actually develop. We learn, we develop them, we strengthen them. So it's an active skill of understanding spoken language, going beyond just hearing to process, interpret, and retain messages by recognizing words, tone, context, and drawing conclusions. Crucial for communication, learning, and building literacy. And so what I've noticed also, Dr. Horne, I don't know if it's just this generation or what, a lot of people struggle with listening comprehension, being able to hear what people are saying, put it into context, interpolate, extrapolate, infer. People have issues with that. But I want to ask you this before I let you go. If you could give me a succinct timeline of Florida, like starting at the 1500s all the way through emancipation, what would that be?
So well, I would say that the Spanish settlers arrive approximately 1565. Their vicious and ferocious wars against the indigenous population. They come with some Africans, and of course, they seek to expand the population. But keep in mind that under Spanish rule, Florida, to a degree, was seen as sort of a fortification for Spanish Cuba. Cuba was the cash cow for the entire Spanish Empire. And I mentioned the Negro fort. It was formerly a non-Negro fort. However, after the influx of the English speakers, which happens in significant numbers, I would say, first of all, in the 1760s, and then in large numbers after the US takeover, circa 1820, you have an expansion of the Black population to the point where it's substantial in Middle Florida, Bradenton, for example, in the antebellum period, the pre-1865 period, but it still doesn't rise to the level, as noted, of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, for example, who were relying very heavily upon cotton crops, and in Louisiana, tobacco crops, for example. But then, of course, the Black population of Florida expands after the US Civil War, and of course expands tremendously in the 20th century, to the point, as noted, where Florida has the third largest population of any state in the United States of America. And just like it has a substantial Black population as well, not only descendants of the Anglosphere, that is to say, the English speaker slave population and the English-speaking enslavers, but of course, an influx of Haitians, particularly in the 20th century.
Right. But Doc, can we go back? Because we went from 1565, the Spanish is there, and then we went to like the Civil War. Could we talk about what happened in between? So 1565, if you could give me, like, if you could do bullet points. 1565, the Spanish get there, then what happens next? What happens after that, Doc?
So what happens after that, of course, is that the Londoners begin to arrive circa 1607, and then they spread to what is now South Carolina by the 1660s, for example. And of course, they established themselves in what is now Georgia by the 1730s. Spain is concerned that those settlements in Georgia and South Carolina could be used to attack their cash cow in Cuba. So they established what is called Fort Mose. Look up Fort Mose. It's mostly comprised of Black soldiers under the Spanish flag. And as I noted, they were involved in stirring up the Africans in South Carolina with regard to Stono's revolt. There are conflicts all along the line between the Protestant Londoners and the Spanish Catholics, to the point where for a temporary period in the 1760s, Britain actually takes over Cuba for a while. But they are eventually ousted from Cuba. And then the United States comes into being, as you know, post 1776. The United States has its eye on Florida from the beginning, but it's a difficult nut to crack because, as I said, you had the Negro Fort circa 1810 to 1815, for example. You had armed Africans in the Negro Fort. As noted, Andrew Jackson, with a lucky shot, destroys the Negro Fort. A few years later, the United States takes over Florida, which leads to the so-called Seminole Wars, 1819 to 1820, the 1830s to the 1850s, which creates heroes like Osceola, who you could call, if you insist, mixed race. Others would call him Black. So then, of course, there's the U.S. Civil War.
Wow. See, thank you. That's the timeline. And I just want to drive this home. I just want to drive this point home. While the Seminole Wars are going on, you know, you got the Seminoles and you, like you said, Seminoles, Black Seminoles, while those Seminole Wars are going on, Florida is still experiencing slavery, correct?
Of course.
Okay.
I remember I started off by recommending the book by Larry Rivers, Slavery in Florida.
Yes.
It's about a 400-page book. He didn't make it up. It's all documented. As a matter of fact, for those who are interested, at the St. Augustine Historical Society in North Florida, not far distant from Jacksonville, they have translations of Spanish colonial records. You can make an appointment to go there. That's what I did, to write different books. And, you know, the Spanish didn't make up these stories about African slaves, for example. Instead, they were bringing them over from Spanish Cuba. They were bringing them over from Spanish Puerto Rico. I mean, if slavery didn't exist in Florida, well, then does that mean slavery didn't exist in Cuba as well? Does that mean that slavery didn't exist in Puerto Rico as well? Does that mean that slavery didn't exist in what we now call the Dominican Republic as well? I mean, or is it just Florida, which got a pass?
And so someone in the chat asked about John Horse because they said, okay, he mentioned Osceola, but he didn't mention John Horse. Could you talk about John Horse?
Well, there are a number of heroes that I did not mention in this brief discussion.
Yes.
But John Horse was a person who is worthy of comment. You know, you can find quite a bit. Actually, if you look at my book on Texas, I think I talk about him because after a certain point, as noted, these Black people who had merged with the Seminoles were so combative that they were forced to leave. Many of them wound up in South Texas. Many of them wound up crossing the border into Mexico, for example. They were a handful for the settlers to deal with. And that's what we should stress, it seems to me, rather than saying that slavery didn't exist. Let's talk about how our ancestors resisted and fought back, which helps to explain why there are 44 million Black people in the United States today, when some would like to have seen us disappear. And I guess, ironically, those who say that slavery didn't exist are on the same page as those who would like to see us disappear.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And before I let you go, Dr. Horne, there's also and I actually do support this. They said it was a lot of people think of the Underground Railroad. We were going north, but they said a lot of African people were actually going south too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and like you said, leaving Florida, going into Mexico and crossing the border as well. So, it's not just, it wasn't just one Underground Railroad going north, right? People were going south into Mexico as well. But go ahead. You said, oh, sure. Go ahead, Doc, if you could expound on that.
I talk about that in my book on Texas. The thousands of Africans from Texas who escaped into Mexico. You had a leader in Mexico of African descent, speaking of Vicente Guerrero, who abolished slavery in Mexico, which led the settlers across the border in the Mexican province of Tejas, Texas, seceding from Mexico, led by Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, who then gave their names to the major cities in Texas in reaction to the abolitionist decrees of President Vicente Guerrero. You had Black people who escaped all the way to Australia, for example. There's been a lot of research on that. Black people escaped to England, to Sierra Leone. Some wound up in Liberia. Some wound up in Cape Town, South Africa, for example. I'm writing a book now on slavery, in part in Egypt. Cairo had one of the largest slave markets in the world. And you also had Black people escaping to Alexandria, Egypt, which is on the Mediterranean coast. So we did exist. Many of us fled slavery. Many of us fought back against slavery. But to say there were no slaves, people need to realize that leads down a very dangerous road. Because as noted, since many of us attribute the difficult conditions we face today to slavery, if slavery didn't exist, then we need a different explanation for us being disproportionately shot down by the police, disproportionately cited in prison, disproportionately found on death row. Maybe we should latch on to the racist argument that there's something wrong with us. That's why we're persecuted and discriminated against. People need to come up with a different theory if they're going to say slavery didn't exist. I'd like to hear what that theory is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I want to hear what the theory is in lieu of all of the evidence. And Doc, when I say evidence, I'm talking about primary sources. People's diaries, right? Like Narrative of a Slave by Frederick Douglass. You don't have to look far. It's so much, like you said, the maroon communities. I had the opportunity of visiting. I went to Jamaica and I explored Acapun Town. I went to Scotts Hall. I went to Moortown, and I also went to, it was another one, Moortown. Charlestown. So there are 4 remaining maroon communities there. And I actually went for my birthday 2 years ago. That was my birthday gift to myself. I spent about a week in Jamaica, and I had an opportunity to go over there. And the funny thing is, Dr. Horne, those people never forgot that they were African. When you go into those communities, they say Aquaba. They say welcome, Aquaba, welcome when you walk in. So had an opportunity to go there. In the States, right here in the States, I've have gone to different plantations, one being the Boone plantation down in Charleston, South Carolina. I went to the Whitney plantation down in New Orleans. I mean, it's still there. There's even the plantation right here in Maryland, up the street from Towson Mall, Towson University, called the Ridgely, the Charles Ridgely plantation. They call it the Hampton plantation. So it's just so much evidence, Doc. Even going over to Africa, I've had the opportunity to go to Ghana and explore, the dungeons, Cape Coast and Elmina. And it's so much evidence, that it's I'm getting ready to go to Senegal and go to Gorée Island. It's so much evidence out there. So for folks to say that slavery never happened, I'm with you. I don't even know if I want to hear. I don't even know if I want to understand a theory at this point, because it's so ridiculous, in light of all of the evidence that we have, and that we can see. And like I said, I didn't even get into firsthand accounts that were written by enslaved Africans, court documents, wills. We have wills, Dr. Horne.
We have cemeteries.
We have cemeteries, right? Like, and so when people say this stuff never happened, it never happened. I'm like, man, sometimes, Dr. Horne, I'm like, I know my father, he says, let the fools be the fools. And so I think that I'm moving towards that direction, just, educating the people who want to listen. There's an African proverb that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so I think I'm moving in that direction. I'm still trying to get online, Dr. Horne, and spread, correct information. But I don't know. I'm with you. I would like to hear the theory, but on one end, but on the other end, I'm like, on the other end, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to hear it. But anyway, Dr. Horne, I do thank you from the bottom of my heart for you coming out tonight and coming on tonight. I'm sorry. And listen and just dropping all of this good information that you dropped to my listening audience. Let me drop a bomb for you right now.
Fire! 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 Fire!
You did a phenomenal job, Dr. Horne. And I also, before you get out of here, Dr. Horne, I want you to talk about your book. You just dropped this book not too long ago, The Capital of Slavery. And family, I'm going to drop this link in the chat so that you can grab his book right away. Could you talk to us briefly about this book before you go, Dr. Horne?
Well, it's rather ironic to talk about this book after our previous discussion, because the book is about Washington, D.C., the capital of this nation, actually being the capital of slavery. Washington, formerly, even as recently as a few years ago, was talked about as Chocolate City, because it enjoyed a Black majority for decades, not least because it bordered Virginia, which of course had a large enslaved and Black population. Or are they saying that slavery didn't exist in Virginia as well? I'm not sure. But in any case, it certainly existed in Washington. And of course, Washington had diplomatic legations, embassies from different countries. Many of the diplomats oftentimes commented on the slaves in Washington, D.C., because they were the butlers in the White House. And of course, they still are the butlers in the White House to a certain degree. They were driving the carriages, the equivalent of cab drivers, for example. And of course, they were involved in uprisings perpetually, particularly when the British invaded during the War of 1812. And many of the enslaved, if I can still use that term, joined the British and helped to burn down the White House, for example, which I talk about at length in that book, and burned down a good deal of Washington, D.C., and then fled on British boats to Trinidad and Tobago, where their descendants continued to reside, called the Americans, for example, in Port of Spain, Trinidad, to this very day. So that's what that book deals with, ironically entitled The Capital of Slavery in a Nation that supposedly did not have slavery.
Exactly. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean over. I'm sorry. That's Queen Mother Moore. I didn't mean to drag over. But it's funny, Dr. Horne. You said I caught that, Dr. Horne. You said in a nation that allegedly never had slavery. Oh, man. So family, take a moment out, man, before you get out of here. Thumb up this video. Thumb it up. Actually, I do. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to drop this link in the chat. Family, make sure that you grab his book, The Capital of Slavery. Dr. Horne, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time, your energy, your wisdom, and your work. And I will be in touch with you soon, Doc.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. Good luck to you as well, Doc. Look, bye-bye. Doc, I'm gonna need it.
Okay. You
take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, family. So you heard from Dr. Gerald Horne, family. He's like a living library. You know how it's some scholars and elders and historians amongst us that they like walking encyclopedias, and he's one of them. Dr. Asar, shout out to Dr. Dennis Asar Winkler. He said that Dr. Gerald Horne writes books faster than we can read them. But shout out to him. I'm going to bring up my brother Unc. I saw you in the chat doing the interview, brother Unc. I saw you in the I saw you in the back, you know. So what's your thoughts, brother Unc? What's your thoughts?
You know, you just gave a master class on how to actually connect the academics to what's actually going on in the street. So what I learned was the academics don't even know it's a wild movement going on.
He had no idea.
He had no idea at all, right? And he talked about Ivan Van Sertima and all that, right? Knowing the academic understanding of the whole situation, right? People will take that and clip that. And so I understand that what we do, we connect the academic to the regular community. And I think what you do is valuable and important. I think what the pseudo killers do and the community of skeptics is well needed, because man, that got real sticky right there. And I was like, how's she gonna pull it off? And you pulled it off with elegance and grace. And I appreciate the way you did that. And we certainly appreciate Dr. Horne. He does a great job when he was talking about, but he don't know, they will take his words and twist it.
Yeah.
I told you to all match. That ain't how he said that.
Oh,
they
no.
don't take it.
Want to go with that narrative. He was like, you can't, but
yeah. So in today's world, we gotta say no. Based off all probabilities, right? There's a 99% chance that didn't happen. Like you always say, you always have to leave room, because if you don't leave room, then what you're talking about is not scientific. Science works in approximates. But boy, it got real sticky. I was like, how's she gonna How's she gonna do it, boy? Man, Sosa was in, I was like sweating. I was like, man, she gotta pull this off. You pulled it off, and now they can't, even if they think he was leaning to their side, they know you're not leaning to that side. And see, that's what's important, to make sure that everybody has a right to their opinion. Right. And we don't want to start killing people for their opinions. We're going to beat you up when you act like it's scientifically accurate and has been qualified by science and qualified by the people that actually study it. That's when I really have an issue. But you can have your opinion. So he has some opinions, right? And then he gave us a scholarly work on the Seminoles. It was a point right there with the Seminoles where you had to bring it. You had to really make that click. He said he didn't want to make the distinctions. He explained why. And I understand what he was saying. Right. But these guys will take that to mean that they wasn't indigenous Africans. He didn't even know this was occurring like that. He had no idea, Doc.
No, he absolutely didn't. Like you said, he was like, really, this is what's being said? I'm like, yes, really. But I wanted to make that distinction. And I see you, Brother Joel. I'm getting ready to bring you up, Brother Joel. I wanted to make that distinction, because then you'll have people who say, we are the Seminoles. Next, you know, it'll be, we were the Seminoles, you know. But he did say that he was like, yeah, that's kind of an insult to, you know, the indigenous people. You know, he said to say, you know, to make that claim. You know, he did say that.
No, you're smart. See that state. See, now did you know that you put up something about listening comprehension or something like that? Yes. Right. Yes. I'm saying that what you just said cleared it all up, but they don't get that. He's saying that's disrespectful to the indigenous people. What he was saying was, of course, so if you're a Black Seminole, okay, in the culture, they would look at you as being a Seminole.
Right.
You get that, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean 200 years later they act like they was indigenous people. Talk about the ethnogenesis that occurred. Talk about how enslaved people mixed in to the Creek Nation. That's an important distinction right there.
It is.
See that? But they don't. Yeah, they don't understand, Doc. They don't.
No, not at all. Not at all. Brother Joel, what were your thoughts about the interview, brother?
Peace, Dr. Mod. How y'all doing?
Peace, boy. I'm fine. How about yourself?
Hey, I'm doing good. Hey, shout out to Dr. Horne. He was cooking. You know, the thing I like about him, if you just let him talk, is, as you notice, as he was talking and he was explaining the actual history here in this country, it kills all the foolishness we hear. Anybody who goes back, and as you was like questioning them and giving them little details, don't hone in on, and he was explaining what was going on here in the country. He was cooking.
Yeah, he was.
And nobody's, and you know what I like what he said? He said, well, if the person is saying there was no slavery in North America, you saying there was no slavery in Brazil? Like, are you just like getting rid of the slave trade altogether? Like, this didn't happen at all?
He did.
So I mean, like, look, we dealing with a bunch of people who sat in the back of the class during school. They were spitting spitballs, cracking jokes, balling up paper. And then, remember when we was younger, we had the little football games, make the little triangular football and play football and kick it. That's what they was doing. They was sitting in the back of the class playing. They was not paying attention.
No.
And so now they want to come full circle with these pseudo-wisdoms from a pseudo-mentary and force it upon us and tell us, yeah, well, we was here before Columbus. No, man. No. Shout out to Dr. Horne. He killed it.
Yeah, I think he killed it too. And he has so much information. I had to kind of wheel him. Well, Doc, because he went, I said, well, give us a succinct timeline. So he went from 1565, then he jumped to the civil. Whoa, Doc. Tell me what happened in between. And did you hear how he broke it down from 1565? And then he started talking about the 1600s, the 1700s. Oh, wait. Yeah. I mean, that man is a walking library.
Yeah.
Walking library.
Talk about the Catholics. A great historian. I appreciate that.
Yep. You let them talk, you get some good stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I am King Sosa. Peace and love to you.
Pseudo Killer, what's going on?
What's going on, Pseudo Killer? How you doing?
What's up, man?
Yeah, you came through, dog. I was very proud of you. Smooth, too. Very smooth, respectful.
Appreciate
good
that.
show. But I had one to touch on. There's like a sweet spot there where when the Spanish leave after the little 7-year war period. Mm-hmm. And that's when you kind of really get what they call the Black Seminole, when they kind of get that interior and they never gain control. So I wanted to kind of speak on that relationship.
Please.
Yeah, they had kind of like a vassalage system because the slave was running away to Florida and the Native American would also protect them. So, but they had their own guns, they had their own crops. Mm-mm. They would form and they would give some of their crops as tribute. You know what I mean? Like, you're looking out and you know what I mean? So they had but they also had separate situations too. Of course they're going to mix. Anytime people together, they're going to mix, but he also has separate development because there's always a language barrier. So I kind of want him to speak on that part of it. And I was thinking like, maybe that's what they're thinking in terms of no slavery with the black, and they kind of mixing that up with no slavery in Florida, period, because they don't understand the timeline, because the Spanish arrived with slaves. So absolutely, kind of, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, but
somebody saying that there was no slavery in Florida just doesn't understand the history of that state.
They may have confused think the Black Seminole period was like it was always like that.
They did on purpose. On purpose. Joe said they were throwing spitballs in class. I'm standing there with the class.
Right. Having pistol fights. Remember we used to fight the pistols?
I'm gonna find a clip. I'm gonna find a clip of the guy saying that. I just didn't want to play it, while he was on. Because how some people because
he's a historian. He's gonna break it down. Like that's not you gotta see what you did was you activated a piece in him that he was not familiar with. And now I start to look. I don't know if we want to call this a phenomenon, right? But they're actually historians and geneticists and things like that, African Americans, that will still hold some wild beliefs. It's amazing. Like for instance, I'm not even gonna mention their name. I talked to a geneticist, and the person, I'm not even gonna say if it's a male or female, was talking about the Black Sumerians. We know that's a wild idea right there. But the person is credible in their field of genetics, though. So we gotta be. There's a lot of things that happen so like you, Doc, you stay very, very busy, right? The only reason you be really connected to the wild, because I keep you on the wild stuff. I keep you abreast of that. Fundamentally speaking, you're working. You don't got time for all that. You don't got time to really figure out what's going on with the YouTube thing like that, right? And so, yeah, those academics, man, they're not abreast of that. Would you agree with me with that? Sosa and no Christian, what you think?
Yeah. You're always gonna find, like I said, some people are experts in their field, and they don't. and a lot of times the novice, like you, may be outside of their field.
That's right.
Because their focus is on their field. So you're psychology, you're focused on psychology. You may have some pseudo-historical ideas about what really went on because your focus is, psychology or the neuroscience or whatever it is. So yeah, that's why we always try when we look at information or we drawing in information, we try to make sure we're taking it from a person that's an expert in that field.
Brother, click on that link.
Okay.
I just check your email and click on that link and share your screen.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I just want to show you all the impetus, for this discussion. I was like, what? People really? It was on TikTok. It was everywhere. I was like, what? It was no slavery because of the Black Seminoles. I said, come on now. We ain't got to make up nothing. You know how you always say that, Brother Ong. We ain't got to make up. We ain't got to lie about our history,
Right. So that means they don't understand what was going on before that. They don't understand what took place to even have what would be called the Black Seminole. They don't know what transpired and made it so that, there was continual wars that took place. Like they just skipping so much history when they oversimplify like that.
Yeah, that simplification is wild.
Absolutely, he's right.
Let me play the clip.
Here. From the span of it being a Spanish colony up until America adopted it in this colony, slavery didn't become outlawed in Florida until the Emancipation Proclamation. What are you talking about? There's plantations in Florida.
That's what you think Florida is.
What are you talking about?
You poor Haitian. You just don't know about Florida. Jesus Christ. What do you think the terminology Seminole means?
No, that's an indigenous tribe. Or
what does it mean?
I don't know what it means. I know it's a tribe.
It means runaway slave.
Seminole means runaway slave.
And where's the home for the Seminoles? This was the state that slaves ran to get away. This was the first. Sir, you come off your mic, you don't know anything. This was the first state that the real Underground Railroad actually happened at. Niggas was running to Florida. You know why? Because the Florida Seminoles was never conquered, sir. The runaway slaves was never conquered. The indigenous tribes here was fighting against the Spanish for the longest. Then the U.S. military tried to invade Florida. They tried to invade Florida. Then the Florida Seminoles and the Spanish came together to fight against the U.S. military because they were trying to enslave or make Florida a slave state. The Florida Seminoles weren't going for it. And we went to war with the U.S. military for 100 years plus. The longest war on American soil. Longer than the Haitian Revolution. Harder than the Haitian Revolution. And we was putting BTA down here. This was the only unconquered state, sir. Wow. Okay. So this is another problem. You guys are very ignorant to our history. You don't know anything. You're trying to make excuses. The bottom line is you're a traitor to your own group of people. And it's fine. If you want to be a traitor, that's fine. We just know that Black Americans have been fighting here in America for the longest. We're not traitors. There's no other groups of people I'll protect other than my own. And that's it. You, on the other hand, you have a whole island to go back to the rep for. You won't do it. Why? I don't know. Everybody
want to rep. What's your thoughts, panel? What's your thoughts, panel?
Was he saying?
Was he over-whooping?
No, was he trying to say that the Black Seminoles meant escaped slaves? He was saying that, right?
Well, he did say that it meant runaway. The definition of, but he was saying that Florida was never conquered. It was never a slave state. He mixed it up. Exactly. He mixed it up. Yeah, so he was saying that he did say Seminole meant runaway slave, but he was like, they ran to Florida. Florida was the first underground railroad. They ran to Florida, and it was never conquered because the indigenous people there and the Seminoles, they got together, and he mixed a whole bunch of stuff up.
And then was on the head of a person from Haiti.
Yeah, he beat him up.
Seemed like he is old. He's trying to get it right. But he got a lot of things messed up, and he messing the whole story up.
He overdoing.
I don't know. Is he trying to say that there were Seminoles and Black Seminoles, or he trying to say that the Seminoles?
Play it again. Play it again.
He didn't make that distinction. He didn't make that distinction.
Yeah, I don't think he made that distinction either.
All right, hold on. All right, here we go. Let's listen. We gotta listen. We gotta see what he's saying. Let's see.
No, they did not.
They didn't have slavery in Florida.
Nope.
See?
Okay. See, yeah, you being
Pause it on.
disingenuous.
Pause it on. Pause it on. You heard him say. He said there was no slavery in Florida. No,
true.
he said
Yeah,
no
he
slavery. He said no. That's the first
didn't-
thing he said. No.
He didn't even look like he believed it though when he said it. The look on his face was like he didn't even. He was like, nope.
Nope.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead,
All
brother.
right, let me see. Come on, let's focus in on it. Let's focus. Let's see.
Slavery in Florida since it
What
was
year?
from the span of it being a Spanish colony up until America adopted it into in this colony. Slavery didn't become outlawed in Florida until the Emancipation Proclamation. What are you talking about? There's plantations in Florida.
Oh, that's what you think Florida is.
What are you talking about?
You poor Haitian. You just don't know about Florida. Jesus Christ. What do you think the terminology Seminole means?
No, that's indigenous, right? Or
What does it mean?
I don't know what it means. I know it's a tribe of
It
people.
means
Runaway slave.
sir.
Seminole
It means
means
runaway
runaway
slave.
slave.
Where is the home for the Seminoles? This was the state that slaves ran to get away. This was the first, sir, you come off your mic, you don't know anything. This was the first state that the real Underground Railroad actually happened at. Niggas was running to Florida. You know why? Because the Florida Seminoles was never conquered, sir. The runaway slaves was never conquered. The indigenous tribes here was fighting against the Spanish for the longest. Then the U.S. military tried to invade Florida. They tried to invade Florida. Then the Florida Seminoles and the Spanish came together to fight against the U.S. military because they were trying to enslave or make Florida a slave state. The Florida Seminoles weren't going for it. And we went to war with the U.S. military for 100 years plus. The longest war on American soil. Longer than the Haitian Revolution. Harder than the Haitian Revolution. And we was putting BTA down here. This was the only unconquered state, sir. Okay. So this is another problem. You guys are very ignorant to our history. You don't know anything. You're trying to make excuses. The bottom line is you're a traitor to your own group of people. And it's fine. If you want to be a traitor, that's fine. Just know that Black Americans have been fighting here in America for the longest. We're not traitors. There's no other groups of people I'll protect other than my own. And that's it. You, on the other hand, you have a whole island to go back to rep for. You won't do it. Why? I don't know.
Everybody want to rap. Yeah. The term Seminole don't mean runaway slave at all. He just made it up. It kind of mean like fugitive, like roaming, like untamed.
Right.
Be like runaway or wild, but they did apply it. They did apply the name to people that ran away.
Yeah, come on, man. See, that's bad right there. And you know what I don't understand, and I've been thinking about this. I don't even know the correct terminology to talk about with the LGB. Is that how you said the LGBT community, right? Mm-hmm. What people don't know about them, they were unsuccessful, right, in the early days of getting a movement started, right? Mm-hmm. And I always felt like this was actually a case study for African Americans. I know some of y'all probably diving out your chairs right now. But if you want to know how to change your messaging and how to get your ideas across, look at the way they recast their message and how they did it. They made it palatable for the African American community and palatable for the American community as a whole. So we're at a point where I'm saying this because the FBA and what's the other movement called? The ADOS, right?
Yes.
Their rhetoric has put them in a position where overall, the African American community and the American community is not actually accepting that. It's almost like you're trying to strike up some kind of war with white people in America, right? And some type of war with people in Africa. And it's too wild for us to even. You have a lot of intelligent people that reside in America. We're the most scientific place on planet Earth. Right? Studied in literature, everything, ranging in think Black people, white people. And so your messaging is so wild and stupid at times, specifically the FBA, that nobody's going to listen to that. It's not something you could get behind as an intelligent person. As just a regular person going to work, it's not something you can get behind. They don't get that, right? It's very charged racially in a lot of ideas, right? A whole lot of kind of like Nation of Islam rhetoric, the old rhetoric from the 40s and the 60s, right? When there was a need for that type of stuff. Like, it's 2025, man. You got to package that better. You got to package that with elegance and grace. The same way you was able to package that conversation today, it's the same way we have to package that conversation when we talk about our reparations or talking about who our history is. You don't got to cuss everybody out. You don't got to cuss a person out because they're an immigrant. Matter of fact, you should celebrate the fact that other people want to talk about us and our culture. Right, wrong, or indifferent, all press is good press. So I'm never fighting with a group of people that at the end of the day is not going to have any burn in any core system if we was to get to the position to have our reparations. Ridiculous.
Yeah. No. And I just want to say this. There's a person in the chat. I'll put your comment up. You know, I don't know if it's a sister or brother at HGF977. I dropped the link in the chat. And you said you Afrocentrics are out of your league. Click the link because I click the link because I don't even want to teach right now. I want to wait till they get on. Just come on in at HGF977, because the funny thing is you're using terminology. You don't even know what an Afrocentric is.
Right.
Brother Ankh is not Afrocentric. I don't know. I am King Sosa. I don't even know if you identify as Afrocentric. And Joel, I don't even know.
Not in the way that they're using the term.
Yeah, not in the way. Yeah, no one. Yeah,
I dare.
So yeah, I dare you click that link, HGF977, and then you had somebody named at Kari9. You said it's only hold on, not partially correct. You said and you kind of +1 them and say, yeah, and that lies the problem. Click the link and let's have an intelligent dialogue. Click the link. I dropped the link in the chat. I would love to hear your perspectives. I won't cut you off. Nobody on the panel cut you off. I honestly want to hear what you have to say. There's the link. You could click it on, and you don't even have to show yourself. You could just literally click the link. Yeah, you don't even have to show yourself. Someone said they won't click the link. They're scared or a bot. Yep, that is true.
I wonder what they would disagree with. Everything we stand is historical.
Yeah, I agree with Kyrie Shelley. She said they won't click the link. She said they're either scared or they're a bot. It says Tether Supreme Allah. Who's that? I don't know. Tether Supreme Allah. You have the floor.
Yeah, Supreme Tether.
Like American Dream name is.
Nah. Playing.
Go ahead.
It's TSA. You know, you got to go through me at the airport to get on the plane. Tether Supreme Allah.
Go ahead, TSA. What's your thoughts? Go ahead and weigh in on it, TSA.
No. Look, I've spoken to that dude before, right? I know his family a little bit. He comes from good people in Miami.
What dude?
The dude who you were just showing. I don't want to say his name.
Okay.
But listen, he, like a lot of these FBA guys, they get a little piece of the knowledge or a little piece of a historical perspective, and they combine that with this self-righteous attitude, and then it turns into what you're seeing. When really he should enroll in FAMU and take some courses with I can't remember the name of the historian, Dr. Rivers, who's written extensively on the history of Black people and the relationship to the Florida Seminoles. Because if he did, he would realize how, escaped slaves were incentivized to reach Florida by the Spanish, but that was to protect their territorial claims relative to Florida and the Spanish Empire in all of the Americas. Spain's problem was that it didn't have the manpower to hold all of its territory, right? And so they prioritized gold in places like Mexico, silver from Peru, but they still wanted to hold on to their territories. And England and France and the Dutch were encroaching. And so they used enslaved Africans and indigenous people who had just formed into the Seminoles to work on their behalf. And this was a colonial imperial game that was played, right? Now that doesn't take anything away from the militant background that many of the enslaved Africans brought from Africa and exhibited. Many of them were skilled warriors. Many of them had, the Seminoles are renowned for their paramilitary tactics, their guerrilla warfare tactics. So what I'm saying is I'm not an expert at this history by any means. There's a lot to learn and know about this aspect of African American history, because it is an important part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I would have to say on this.
You might not be an expert, but you did real good right there. I tell you that.
Absolutely.
Well, if I told you who I really was, you would be surprised. But at some point, let's just say at some point in my life, I studied Florida history to some extent. You dropped the link, but I was trying to look up my old papers and stuff like that, and my old historiography on this topic, because I could share about 5 or 6 really good authors who've written on these histories, and some recently as well. I'm talking about academic histories,
Beautiful.
And yeah, there's debate. There's legitimate debate about, that relationship between indigenous peoples and enslaved Africans wasn't always rosy as well.
No, that's real. That's correct.
So it changed over time based on the changing politics relative to the competition of imperial power and the willingness of Africans to be free from Europeans and free from indigenous peoples too.
That part.
Some of them were joining that civilization. They wanted to, and they played their own political games. They wanted to survive and live. So some of them acquiesced to white supremacy. So it isn't a total. The point I'm making is wasn't a total sum game. You can't just talk about Seminoles in one bubble and they were the same the entire history of the. No, some were down for the fight, others weren't, and they had their own reasons for making the decisions they made. So
right. Yeah, that's even within that situation, you have, not all the Seminoles were ready to go to war for themselves or Africans. So there's a dichotomy going on even within the Seminoles, right? Because you talk about Osceola, right? Right. Okay, but he wasn't African, right? So I had to put that out there. But one thing that Osceola did is that they tried to broker a peace treaty. The chiefs did. They was gonna give it up. So Osceola chopped off their heads like, bro, that ain't what we doing.
You could talk about John Horse. John Horse is another famous Black Seminole. John Horse. Also, there's a whole tribe of Black Seminoles who go over to Abaco in the Bahamas. They have the family name Redlegs, the Redlegs. And this is you can Google that and you'll find numerous links, including the descendants who still live in the Bahamas today. And the sad part about that dude,
that's how you get the Junkanoo over there, the Junkanoo festival.
Yep, Junkanoo in Gullah Geechee territory, Junkanoo in the Bahamas, Junkanoo in Jamaica. So there's some cultural linkage to all of these regions. And you know what? For any FBA that's listening, I would just end here. I'd say that's the sad part about what's happening with this FBA hateful rhetoric, is because it plays into like this white American hegemonial claim to all of the Americas. It gives too much credence to like to the borders of the United States and ignores the fact that for Black people, we don't give a damn about the United States territorial claim. We're trying to get free. You know what I'm saying? So if that means going to Mexico, we going to that means going to the Bahamas or the area, we going there. And people were moving all the time. It's dynamic cultural and exchange. So anyway, I'll stop there.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. I see Brad Patterson is in the building. Brad, you wanted to weigh in on this? What are your thoughts? Unmute your mic and tell us your thoughts, Brad. You got to unmute, Brad. He wave it. Yeah, you got to unmute. I don't know on your end. I know you're on your cell phone in the car.
Hit the microphone button.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Oh, okay. There. Do we have it?
Yep, we hear you loud and clear.
No, it's just interesting because I had a Muslim brother who was a friend in California, and he always stated he was Seminole, and my kids grew up knowing him some, and he always bartered. He wouldn't deal in dollars much, and he always made these rain sticks that made the acoustic sound like rain. And it was the best rain sticks you ever had. But as far as really adding too much to the conversation, there's really not much to add. But I just know the Seminoles really had a robust history. But to say that there was no slavery in Florida, that sounds wild.
Yeah, where you from, Brad? Are you from Are you from Florida or?
I grew up outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, in a town called Mooresville. It was actually the hometown of John Dillinger, who J. Edgar Hoover was real big on going after Dillinger, and also Garvey in his early years, Marcus Garvey. So, yeah, that's where I grew up at. I spent the first 19 years of my life in Mooresville, Indiana.
Okay, no, I asked. I thought you were from. I hear a Southern accent from you, so I thought you were gonna say I'm from Florida. I thought you were gonna say I'm from Florida, But yeah, I do agree with you that to say that it was no slavery down there is utterly ridiculous. But you said you knew a Seminole, and that Seminole, it was a black Seminole, or was it like one of the indigenous?
You would have assumed he was African American, but he was a Muslim brother in the community that I was in.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate you weighing in, man. I see Pan Mulatto.
Thank you all so much.
Hey, no problem.
Peace, man.
Peace. Mulattoism. Pan Mulattoism. Peace.
Yes, peace, and thanks for having me up. I'll
problem.
try to keep it brief because I see that there are a number of different panelists, but I do want to say this. I see that right now, specifically, the FBA movement is, generating a lot of controversy online. And for the descendants of U.S. chattel slaves, whether you come from a Pan-Africanist background or not, even if you disagree with the term FBA or ADOS, try to come together in unity with the FBA movement under the term freedmen, because undoubtedly and inarguably all of our ancestors were listed as freedmen. So even if you disagree with the term FBA, let's meet with the FBAs on agendas and policies that we agree upon and advocate for them legislatively. Really, that's all I wanted to say. A lot of this back and forth between our own ethnicity, it's a distraction from us actually getting things done that will benefit our ethnicity, really.
You do know that's not accurate, though, right? What you just said.
All right, which part, brother?
You said that African Americans were listed under the term freedmen.
I never said the word African American once, brother. Respectfully.
Black people, the blacks that were in America.
Brother, I never said black, brother.
Okay, what did you say? I might have misunderstood you. What did you say?
Yes, sir. And just to boil it all down.
No, what did you say though?
Well, let's not be contentious. What I said was our ancestors, whether you identify as ADOS, whether you identify as FBA, our ancestors were listed as freedmen. So I asked you a question. Do you have any ancestors that were listed as freedmen?
No, that's my problem right there. And
well, respectfully, I wasn't talking about you then, brother.
Okay. So then you can't just say a blanket statement of ancestors.
I never said black.
You're gonna have to.
I never said African American, brother.
All right, I quit. All right,
yeah, I'm talking about a particular group of people, brother.
That's Pan Mulatto. He tripping. The name, he tripping.
Yes, but everything I said was factual, though. Really.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
All right, which part? And I ask you again. What part of what I said was
let me
not
explain?
factual?
You keep cutting me off.
I'm gonna mute up. Go ahead, brother. I'm gonna mute up.
Can I interject here, please?
I'm pretty succinct when I talk. I don't go along diatribes. All right, so look, listen. The term freedmen is applied to those individuals who came out of slavery during the emancipation.
No, that's not
it only applies to them.
That's not accurate.
It would also apply to those individuals who were under those 5 so-called nations of Indians that they had some of us as slaves as well. They will be termed as freedmen also, because that's still around that same time of the emancipation. All the rest of us that were here, that maybe had people in the north. See my great grandfather Herod Armstrong fought in the Civil War. Yeah. He one of
Was
them
he a
kind of folks
freedman,
go
brother?
down there and free you. He one of them dudes that go free you. Put that
I'm
smoke
asking,
on you.
was he a
He is
freedman,
not
brother?
a freedman. He worked to get you freed, though. If you
Was he
say
a
you're
former
freeman,
slave,
my
brother? I'm
grandpa
asking.
put the work in to get you free. So that's
I'm
why I'm
asking, was he a
saying
free?
He
Hold
was
on,
a free.
that's why
Was
I'm
he a former
saying
slave,
hold
brother?
on,
you
everybody
can't just
stop.
use it as a
Hold
blanket
on, everybody
statement. All
relax.
right, I'm done.
Let's make this real clear. I want to hear the guy down the bottom. I want to hear what he got to say. He was kind of jumping in.
Yeah.
We're
Doctor.
waiting on the conversation of Freedman.
All right.
So some people
First off,
was named.
Right,
Hold
but
on,
y'all
bro.
disagree with how I explained that,
Y'all
though.
can't hear me.
Hold on,
Y'all can't hear me. Y'all can't hear what I'm saying. My mic ain't up there. I got to turn my mic up louder. Jesus
Go,
Christ.
No,
brother.
we can't hear
Go,
you. Oh,
brother.
what you say?
Y'all
Go,
can't
brother.
hear me? God dang.
We hear
No, we
you.
can't hear you.
Oh, y'all
I'm just
been
playing. Go
funny.
ahead.
No,
I'm
I can't hear
saying
you. I
you
can't
wouldn't
hear the other
blanket
dude.
you wouldn't just blanketly start to call African Americans freedmen. All right, you wouldn't apply it that way. You have to have a historical context to it. Some people can be called that, but you can't blanket the term. But go ahead with the brother with no name on the icon. Go ahead. We
No,
want to
yeah,
hear.
Dr. Anthony Dixon, you got the floor.
thank you. Again, my name is Dr. Anthony Dixon. I have researched the Black Seminoles for more than 20 years. I have a book, Florida's Negro War, Black Seminoles and the Second Seminole War, as well as a film project going on. I invite you all to go to the website, blackseminoleproject.com. Now, what we're actually talking about is the usage of these different terms, but we need to stay focused on the people. What we're talking about is free person of color. You have a free person of color, then you have a freedman. You have freedmen that were actually part of the quote unquote 5 civilized tribes. Now, some of those were enslaved. Now, the thing about it is, Seminoles used the word slave for different purposes, because that was sometimes how they even had to keep their children, because that was the only thing that the U.S. government and whites, particularly in Florida, understood. So they would claim their own children as their slave. And so the term enslavement was very fluid in the Seminole culture. Now, when you talk about others, though, particularly the Creeks did accept plantation society, and they did accept enslavement. So you actually have some that were freed under Creek and American law, and we call them freedmen. And you have those who escaped from the Creeks and came down into La Florida, and they joined the Florida Maroons, who eventually became known as the Black Seminoles. And so, again, what we're looking at is the different terminology of what we're calling these different people. So, yes, your grandfather came from North and fought in the Civil War. He was considered a free person of color. Now, if you're talking about someone who was enslaved and then got their freedom, that is a freedman. And so you have a freedman in American society, and you have a freedman within Native American society.
Yeah.
And the real distinction within the quote unquote Native Americans was matrilineal, meaning if it was your mother, if you were tied into the tribe through your mother, that meant that you partook in all of the tribal things. You even partook in what they call the corn bust ceremonies. You could actually speak up. You could actually talk to the elders. You could actually go up in rank. But
Correct.
if it were your father that was native, then you were still considered black, and eventually you would have been considered a freedman.
Right.
Doctor,
And so
real
that's
quick,
the
so we can stay on course. So we can stay on course. I want to make sure I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm familiar with a little bit of your work.
Solid.
So you do recognize the distinction that the Black Seminoles were actually people that was enslaved and came to the Americas by way of the slave trade and mixed in with Europeans, some Native Americans. Do you agree with that?
They're two distinct. We now know, and we have proof that there are indigenous melanated people. And we look particularly to the Wale.
No. I asked you a distinct question.
I'm sorry.
I'm giving you a litmus test right now. We call this a litmus test. So hold on for a minute. Let me give you the litmus test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you believe that vaccines were safe and effective for the African American community? Yes or no, sir?
Vaccines were safe? No, I think we were the guinea pigs.
Okay, stop. Do you think the Empire State Buildings was crashed into by planes by America?
I don't think Osama bin Laden is who we're going to put all the blame on.
Okay, got you. Guess what? I'm not listening to you no more. I don't care what you got for your name. I'm done. I'm out.
Okay, well, that's fine. But here's the thing about it. You don't have to listen. All you have to do is look at the research itself. The research itself. And that's why I went back to the Wale people.
Yeah, ask them so because that's what I was going
to. When you look at the Wale people, we have been relying on these English records, and that's a mistake. You have to look at the Spanish.
Can you spell Wale for me?
I know who that. It's spelled Guale.
It's Guale.
And they call their chiefs the Chique.
I'm familiar with.
Hold on. Let Dr. Dixon talk. I don't want to mute nobody.
Yeah, but Dixon is solid, but he's getting a little bit.
No, Dixon not solid. Yeah. I'm not.
I'm not solid, brother. I would love to hear how I'm not solid.
I'm okay. Give me 2 seconds to tell you how you're not solid. You may be solid. No, I got you. I got it, so I know how to handle this. Listen, hold on, Dr. Dixon. I appreciate you working. I appreciate your credentials. But when you start to make broad statements that the research wasn't done on vaccines, then I have to question your research ability. So I'm saying
wait a minute. That's not what I said.
He didn't say that.
So what did he say about the vaccine?
I said that black people were used as guinea pigs. We know that with the syphilis experiments, with the Tuskegee experiment.
Doc, listen.
We know this with Henrietta.
Okay, hold on for a minute, Doc.
People have been used as experiments.
Doc, can you wait for a minute?
Are you denying the Tuskegee experiment?
So I want you to hold on.
Are you? No, that's a yes or no.
No, don't yell at me.
The Tuskegee experiment?
Doc. I don't have the same elegance and grace that Dr. Miyad has, right? So I want you to explain to us. Let me just say this. I just want you to explain to us what the Tuskegee experiment was. Don't mess it up, because then I got to know.
The Tuskegee experiment was when they allowed black men to keep going on with syphilis so that they could keep testing the results and understand how syphilis was responding on the human body. So
Great point. Hold on. I heard you. Great point.
They told people that they quote unquote had bad blood.
Hold on. You're right. Hold on. I heard you. Hold on. You don't guys get the whole history. Great point. So you agree they didn't actually give it to him? Am I correct? We stand solid right there, right?
Did they actually give it to them?
Yeah, they didn't give it to him. So we good on that, right? They didn't. You agree with me on that, correct?
To a certain extent, yes.
Oh, okay. So you agree with me. I don't know what the to a certain extent means.
I want to get back.
To a certain extent means that there was some in that laboratory that they were using that only had trace, and they allowed the syphilis to continue.
No, I agree with you. Now watch this. If you're going to give the real history to us, right, you have to go on and explain how out of that, first of all, it was wrong. It was out of order, right? It was distasteful and destructive to the black community. We can agree to that, right? But then you have to explain what occurred after that. It allowed other people never to have to go through that again. Now, that does not have any bearing on about vaccines. It just does not. Two separate issues. It's like a scare tactic there. And you being a doctor, you would hold on. You being a doctor, you know that. Now, the thing that brought me into question with you when you tried to act like it was an indigenous, melanated, I don't even know what that means, black tribe in America. Was you trying to say it was an indigenous black tribe prior to Christopher Columbus and them, or prior to the Native? Was you trying to say that? Maybe you wasn't trying to say that. Maybe I got it misconstrued. So now I'm listening. Are you saying, real closely, that it was an indigenous black tribe prior to Christopher Columbus and prior to the Native Americans? Was you saying that? Because you said melanated.
Yes.
Right. Come on.
Yes. And we have the verified proof.
Can I
What's the verified proof? That's what we need to hear. We need to hear that.
I'm familiar with the.
Would you like to hear the verified proof?
Yes. Yo.
The verified proof.
I want to hear. I want to know where the information comes from. I'm familiar with the Guale people. But so what are you using to determine that they were indigenous to you, like DNA? Like, what are you using?
All right. What we are using are the Spanish records, not the English records, the Spanish records. And when we look at the Spanish records in 1511, when Peter Marte first left the Caribbean and spotted this land north of the Caribbean, there were records where they sent back to first the governor of Hispaniola, which is, of course, present-day Havana in Cuba, and then on to the crown. And in those records, they described the people in North America. And they described them as looking Afrikaners.
But that is how they describe them. Spanish records. Those are anecdotal at best.
It is anecdotal. It is anecdotal. It is.
How is a Spanish record anecdotal? But we
no. He's saying the observation. He's saying the observation. It was an anecdotic observation, Doc.
Doctor.
Well, if he caught, wait a minute. Let
me just respond to you real quick, and then you can carry on. Listen, I'm not saying that those are not legitimate historical records, but as a doctor, you know that you cannot give all credence to one set of records.
But I think you're not hearing because he's not denying his African ancestors.
We don't.
Not denying his African ancestors.
Hey, Doc, put him down. We want to hear Dr. Dixon.
Yeah, let Dr. Dixon. Yeah, let Dr. Dixon.
Okay, well, Dr. Dixon, you know we cannot rely just on written records now. You need more than just written records.
Yeah, that's why you're messing up, Doc. You're messing your career up right now for no reason.
You
done went from credible to not credible.
All you have to do is look at my
They're gonna take his doctorate degree from him.
Yeah, they're gonna take your degree from you. They're gonna make you a pseudo now, yo.
Hey, Dr. Dixon. Dr. Dixon, quick question. Dr. Dixon, what do you have your PhD in?
Seminoles.
Dr. Dixon, what is your PhD in, if you don't mind me asking?
My PhD is in history.
Okay, you got PhD.
Almost.
Can I go next after whoever?
No. We want to hear Dr. Dixon. No.
Still trying to determine, right?
After whoever's about to speak, can I go next?
Then that's fine. But here's the issue, and I will lead a room. And here's
we don't want you leading.
No, don't leave. I got a question for Dr. Dixon.
Question, right? When we have lots of Spanish records where they may make say things like may compare to an Ethiopian, right? But that's look, right?
Yes, look, yeah.
But that in no way tells you that that they were like African indigenous or black indigenous. That does mean that they may have phenotypically in some ways and skin tone resemble people in Africa, but Africa is extremely diverse. Absolutely. So when they say they look like an Africanus, which Africanus?
Right, that's what I'm saying. So what we're saying, wait a minute. What additional evidence is that melanated
let him talk, man.
Yeah, let him talk. Please let Dr. Dixon talk, y'all. Go ahead, Dr. Dixon.
I don't know who went out.
Yeah, he went out.
Yeah, but Sosa made an excellent point, man.
Can you post a link in the chat, Dr. Rod, so I can see what you're talking about, like whatever.
And respectfully, it's one sentence, really two sentences.
Respectfully, you come in respectfully. How is that respectfully?
No, I asked for permission more than once. How am I cutting?
We're in the middle of talking, though. But we're in the middle of talking.
More than one person spoke, so I'm the only one that can't speak.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying, relax, yo. We trying to
relax.
Dr. Dixon, who been on Rock Newman, and see, I'm gonna tell y'all, man, this is the crust of what's really going on. They do it in white academia too. You have academics, white people, that will be academic right? And they circles. And then when it comes to white people, I mean black people, they write wild ass books on purpose. Dixon is doing the same thing. He started making wild claims, which messed him up.
Who started doing the same thing on?
White academics, like Black Genesis.
Oh yeah. You talking about Robert? I forgot.
Yeah, they academics, but when it come to writing for us, so they play. So we don't need a black academic with a doctorate degree. We need that same rigor behind what you're talking about. He know damn well saying the melanated people is wild. All humans are melanated. Just in different varying degrees. You just had a whole show on that. So that word is a trigger word. And then to talk about vaccines is wild. And then to use Tuskegee experiment is even wilder. So I'm saying is, although you might have obtained a doctorate degree, you proved the very point that everybody that has a doctorate degree don't mean you know what the hell you talking about all other subjects. I'm not understanding that. I respect you for the rigor and what you did to get your doctorate degree. I will not disrespect that. But I'm saying when you got that, you got to be responsible like Dr. Mayat be responsible. You got to be more responsible than me and everybody else on this panel. Because now we say you got a doctorate degree. They're going to listen to you, bro. They're going to take this show and say, see, they wasn't listening to a doctor. It's not, no, we're not acquiescing to the fact that he's a doctor. We're talking about whatever this doctor said out of his mouth, can it be verified and proven? That's what we're doing. We never just go with the person because they're a doctor. We're not listening to Dr. Mayat because she's a doctor. We listen to her because when we put her information through the strainer, it pans out. That's why we listen to Dr. Oyamayat. So we never listen to Dr. Dixon because he's Dr. Dixon. We're listening to Dr. Dixon because we can take what he says. We can read his website. Now we got to go to his website now. You put yourself on the desk. Now we got to critique everything you say. You was on Rock Newman's show. He be having wild people on that. And all this help miseducate our people, man. And I don't like it. I just don't like it, Doc. I don't like that because it's not fair to us. Now we got people used to listening to doctors, and now the doctors be coming with the extraordinary claims. Come on, man. That's not right to us. We're marginalized people. Education has been marginalized. We think science is white people. We think vaccines, we was the guinea pigs because we was guinea pigs 70 years ago. Like, come on, man. We understand that. We keep that here. We get that.
That's why I want his sources. So you want to, like I said, that will tell you the level. So you ask for the sources. So when once he said the sources are descriptive letters written from this person to that point, then you already know where the claim lies. So you can extrapolate that. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna just walk you down. You know what I'm saying? Let me see the sources. You feel me? Like I'm if you provide evidence, that's I can change my mind. But I need to see them. So I need to.
But brother, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think a lot of times. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this. But even okay.
All right, and I'm gonna go after you, then, brother. Go ahead.
No problem. Spanish colonial records are good historical sources. They provide excellent context, right? But what additional sources do you use to compare to those written records? If he is a PhD historian, he should automatically know that Spanish colonial records based on observation cannot be taken at face value. So what I was trying to get out of him was, how did you confirm that those Spanish colonial records were sound based on observation? So there has to be additional evidence. You can't just rely on one body. There are limitations to archival materials. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest, though.
And
a lot of
that
times
is
we're so
the
thirsty.
basis. We go
So
forward
hold on,
from
is there no order?
Hold on, let Dr. Dixon go. Go ahead, Dr. Dixon. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is
that
I'm saying that the Spanish records are the basis because they are the oldest, and you go forward from there. Then you can look at the English when the English began to do their descriptions and things of that nature. Because
Hold on, but Dr. Dixon,
English,
you're taking the bait, though, brother. Really, because you're not denying your African ancestry. So we should be in agreement. We have Native American and African American ancestry.
So basically, what you all are saying is, you all don't believe that there were black people in America before.
What do you mean by black?
Wait, yeah, I was just getting ready to say, what do you mean by black?
I'm talking about people who have a certain hue of melanated skin. Now,
They all over the planet.
On that
That's
basis, wait a
exactly.
minute,
It's all
let
over
me
the planet.
That's everybody.
Exactly.
What's the joke?
That's
Now
exactly
you
what I'm saying.
Nobody
now
If
you
denied
you,
playing
if
with us
you
now.
say, wait a minute,
nobody
if a
denied the Native
Spanish
American had
person,
some dark hued people. That's
okay,
not a
if you go,
Hold on,
let me ask you
we're not,
something. If
hold
you
on, I
go
got
to
to take 10
England right
seconds, please.
now,
I waited
if
for
you,
everyone to speak.
Man,
Please
let
give
the
me 10
doctor
seconds.
talk though. We trying to hear him. We
I
hear
know,
you
but I
every
let
day.
everyone speak, and
Yeah,
I'm
we
on the
hear you
panel, and I'm here with
every
respect.
day. We don't hear from Dr.
So
Dixon.
actually,
You
but I'm
mind?
here with respectfully,
No,
please. 10
respectfully. Do
seconds.
you realize we don't
I
hear from
know,
Dr.
but
Dixon all the time? Let him get his
Yeah,
off,
yeah, yeah.
and then
Let
you go
Dr.
next.
Dixon. Yeah, yeah. Let
all right,
Dr.
well,
what I'm
this is
saying
your
to
panel.
you
When
is
can I
this.
go? Just let me know.
When
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
What I'm
Dixon
Yes,
saying,
sir.
finished,
what I'm saying is
No,
this.
I'm asking
What
the
I'm
host.
saying
When
is
can I
this.
go?
when
Yes,
So
Dr.
sir.
if you get on
At
a
the Dr.
plane,
Dick, at
after
the
Dr.
Dr.
Dixon
Dixon.
get it all
At the,
off, so he
I'm
won't
about to
go
mute
around and say
everybody.
we ain't let him
I
talk on
got
Dr. Oyama show. Go ahead,
let
Dr.
us talk.
Dixon.
Go ahead, Dr.
all
Dixon.
right. What I'm saying is this. If you get on a plane, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. Everybody pick wherever they want to go in this world. When you get off that plane, if I go to London, England, I can pick out a black person, can I not?
No,
Can
that's
I not?
different. That's a different conversation. But go ahead.
No,
Do it in
no, no. What I'm
Switzerland.
asking you is, can you pick a black person out if you got on a plane and
What does
went to
that mean?
France?
Yes,
What,
If you
brother.
went
Yes.
to
The answer is
Africa?
yes.
Come
The answer
on.
If
is
you went
yes.
to
The answer is
Oceania, you
yes, right?
couldn't.
what does
The
If
that
you went to
answer is
mean?
yes.
Oceania, you
So
couldn't.
What
what
does
I'm
that
I'm
about to
mean?
put
saying
your
to
crew
you,
down. About to put your crew down.
No,
Let
whoa, whoa,
Dr.
whoa,
so
whoa,
what
whoa,
Dixon
I'm
whoa, whoa,
talk,
saying is,
whoa.
man.
Yeah, let
if
that
you
man
say
talk.
Talk.
yes, if you say yes,
Mhm,
then what I'm saying to you is,
mhm.
how is that different than a Spanish person in the 1500s saying that person looked like that African I saw 30 days ago on the west coast of Africa? What's the difference?
You want the
You
answer?
tell
It's
me now, what's the difference?
Hold
I
on,
can
hold on.
answer
Okay.
that.
Do you want the difference? The difference
Yes.
is
Well, yes, I'm
time,
listening.
first of all. And so
No,
when they
time
first,
does not
you
time does
asked
not
me,
have an effect
I
on
thought
that.
you
If
asked
you
me,
know
I
that
thought
person
you,
looked like that person
I thought you
that you
asked me for
saw
the
in
answer. Can I
Africa.
give you the answer, Doc?
Okay, go ahead, sir.
So you talking about two separate things.
All
You're
right.
talking about a Spanish community that reaches the Americas for the first time. Okay. They're used to the old world population. And in the old world population, they seen plenty of people of color. When they got to the Americas, based off what they land, when they seen darker complected people, they didn't, Darwinian evolution, you know what I'm saying, was not there yet. So they had no idea. So in their minds, they seen people of color. That's okay. I'm telling you, based off of evolutionary reasons, right? You are supposed to see people of color in the daggone Americas because the color of their skin is shielding them from the sun. No matter where you at, the closer to the equator, the darker you get. The equator goes around the planet. So you would expect to see people of color around the planet. And that does not mean that they caught a dag boat or ship. And it does not mean that they are indigenous Africans coming directly from Africa. It just doesn't mean that, Doc. That's all I'm trying
What
to
it means is no, but it does mean that that person that he saw with his own two eyes. He saw him directly correlated with the person that he saw in Africa. Now, if you don't get that basic human premise that I can go to England right now and I see this person, and that person, and I say this person look like my cousin back in Georgia, then it's something wrong with you. And
Did
what
the,
he said
Can I
was,
weigh in on that?
hold on.
show the screen,
Nah,
Doc.
bro,
this
I'm next.
person
Did the Spanish
looked
record said he had
like
an
the
afro?
African. He didn't say this person was different, red, long, this, that, and a half. He said this person looks like the African I saw in
Which
Africa.
African?
That's
Like which
what he
African?
said. Now you
No,
want
which
to discredit
African?
what he's describing?
No, I'm asking which African did he say he looked like?
What difference does it make
The
if
difference
It
it's
makes
It's
a
a
is
major
that the
big
talking
difference.
about
Spanish had
people?
less than 100 years of maritime tradition. Yes, they had been along the coast of Africa, but they're in no place in 1511 to determine who is black and who is not at the time. It's too early
All
on
right, but is
to get
this
close.
Doc, can you see
why?
the
Hold
screen,
on, but
Doc?
why is this a
Dr.
point of
Dixon, do you
contention?
see the screen?
I'm
He
talking about why
said
your reliance on the
Africana.
source
Hold on.
is
If
not
we agree we have
reliable.
Native American and African ancestry, why are we arguing about what they look like?
Nah,
Man, we're
man, get
not,
out the
bro. I
conversation
get it.
right
You want
now, bro.
everybody
You
to
Serious
get
gotta get out
question.
along,
the
bro.
conversation,
Because
Appreciate
man.
while
You
we're
that.
gotta
But
get
you
out
debating
gotta
the
about
stop this.
conversation
ancestry,
right
someone
now.
is taking over our
Okay,
community.
Can I
bet.
say
No
It's
something?
problem. No
information,
problem.
bro.
Hey, Dr.
Hold
Dixon, can
on.
you see the
But y'all
screen?
missed that.
Can you see the screen, Dr.
I can
Dixon?
see the screen.
Appreciate the
Do
love,
you
bro.
know what you're looking at, Dr. Dixon?
No, he
No,
doesn't.
it's not topographical. Is this an ethnographic?
No, it's a skin color map.
Okay, it's ethnographic. Okay, go ahead.
So basically what it's showing you is that you would expect to see people with brown skin in the Americas. What it does not mean that indigenous Africans left Africa and immediately made it to the Americas. We understand evolution. So you do agree with evolution, am I correct?
Sir, what does that have to do
No, I'm
with
asking a question. Listen, do you agree with evolution? Seriously, this is a serious question, Doc. Do you agree with Charles Darwinian evolution, sir?
To a certain degree, yes.
No. Do you agree with Charles Darwin evolution?
No, I can't say I agree to everything because
do you agree that humans evolved out of? Do you agree humans evolved?
So no, I'm not going to say I agree with everything with Darwin.
No, so then, do you agree with his scientific theory then? Because you seem like you're running a little bit. Do you agree with his scientific theory?
This is why foreigners are taking over our community.
Come on, hey, Doc, get him out of here. Get the pan mulatto guy out of here, please. I'm trying to have a serious conversation.
The only one with sense.
Can you please get him? Hey, Doc, can you put him down there?
Hey, Pan, don't unmute. Let Dr. Dixon, let him go. Go ahead.
All right, and I'm next. Thank you.
Dr. Dixon, I'm saying, do you agree with Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory?
All of it except that we were a lower form of man.
So you don't agree with Charles Darwin because he never said that.
I mean, he's a
He
historian.
did say that. Yes, he did. Charles Darwin was brought over here by Southerners because he
never
said
came to America.
Was the lowest form of man.
No, Darwin never came to America. He never said that.
Yes,
so
he was invited by Southerners. He was.
Hold on, Doc.
He was invited by Southerners.
Doc, he never came to America
because he supported their ideas that black people were in their best state of being enslaved. Charles Darwin did support that idea.
Yeah,
so I'm asking you, do you agree with Charles Darwin's scientific theory of evolution? Yes or no? Like you did me. I want a yes or no answer, sir.
I said yes.
So
to
you
a certain degree. Long as I just don't agree with the part that black man was a lower man.
But that's not part of the scientific theory, though.
That was part of Darwin's theory.
It was not, man. He has a scientific theory.
He did say that.
Okay,
you don't even know Darwin's theory.
So then
I try another
hold on, no, Christian. So Dr. Dixon, I'm telling you right now, you are not qualified to have a conversation about anybody's skin color because you do not agree with Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. And I'm gonna let you finish because I want to.
I didn't say that. I said I agree.
We heard you.
Everything. See, here it is. You hear what you want to hear. You like the student in the room that like to argue and want to hear what he want to hear.
Now you trying to put me on a guy that like to argue.
I want to try another approach though, y'all.
There is another this conversation. Dr. Dixon, on purpose. You doing it on purpose, Dr. Dixon. On purpose.
Yes.
I said, do you agree with Charles Darwin theory of evolution?
And I said yes.
You can't.
I said yes.
No, you didn't.
Yes to a certain degree.
Can you put the map back up and let me say something to him?
No, bro.
Can you put the map back up and let me say something to him?
I'm next.
Hey, Doc, let me ask you something. I'm gonna let you go, bro. I know we've been holding you up. I got something I want to say real quick. Check this out. If you look at this map right here, though, I want to try to reason with you real quick. Okay. If right now we jumped on a boat and we went down into Oceania, somewhere like that, or if you went to somewhere like Australia, you would get off and you would see these real dark skinned people. Right? You agree?
Yes, we call them Aborigines.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you, Aborigines. So if them same explorers had got off the boat and saw them, you know what they would have said? They would have said the same thing. You said they would describe them as looking Africana, but they are not. No way, shape, or form.
I never said. That's what
bro, he made his point, bro.
I never said they were Afrikaners. What I said was that they were melanated people.
No. I wrote down what you. Wait a minute, Doc. Hold up, Doc. No, stop. Hold up. Let me talk to him just real quick.
But you jumped the line. Wait a minute, Doc. Is this just no order, or everyone else get to talk? I can't talk.
No, at least let me finish. Because I'm trying.
You jumped the line, but go ahead.
Yeah, finish. You did jump the line, Joel. But go ahead, finish your thought.
Okay, go ahead. All right, I'm gonna spin back. I'm gonna spin the block later with my gang.
Go ahead, Pan Mulattoism. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you. God bless you, Sister Maya. And this will be so brief. Now, simple things we allow to derail us and distract us while foreigners are taking over our communities. We're arguing for over an hour, and it's not the first time we argued about this, about our ancestry, even though we both agree that we
That's
have
not the damn
African.
conversation. You're a nut. You're a nut for that, bro. That's
You gotta
not the
pull your
conversation.
skirt down, brother. Please.
Man, whatever,
It's all
nigga.
good.
That
It's
ain't the
all good.
Please,
conversation.
bro.
Hold on, it's all good.
All right.
It's all good.
It's not all
Now,
good, bro.
back to
We
the
got a
sentence.
doctor here in the
Okay, I'm gonna
conversation
eat for the
that's
next hour. My people be
miseducating
all right.
people, and this fool gonna talk about we arguing like fuck. Get
Miseducate.
out of here with
You
that.
the one that don't
Hold
know,
on.
Jack. You don't.
Back to the
You know
sentence.
what?
Back to my
I'm not
sentence.
gonna
You
get
see,
this
I'm
off.
not
Don't
I'm
yell
not
at
treating.
me,
gonna get
Doc. I'm
off.
on your side. Don't
But
yell
the
at me,
little
Doc.
fish
You want to
nasty.
believe
You
it,
put
brother.
them
Hold
down.
on,
So you
family.
You
gotta
It
Man,
you
has
go.
to
Doc,
you
you just
depend.
want
don't
to
understand
believe.
evolution, Doc. That's
I
all.
tell
Ain't no
you
wrong with
what
that.
though.
Yeah.
I tell you what
Let
though.
Pan mulattoism get his thoughts out.
All right, I'm
Thank
muting
you.
Yeah,
out.
we get off. Go ahead.
Go
Let
for
me
it,
be
Pan
brief.
Mulatto.
Go ahead,
Right.
Pan.
While
Full
we're
name is.
debating about our ancestry, while we are debating about our ancestry, someone got a echo. You got to mute up, please,
That's
respectfully.
Dr.
That's
Think
me.
about it. Yeah, hit
Yes,
mute for a
please,
second.
mute
Hit
up.
mute for a second while you finish.
I'm trying to do.
It's literally 2 points. It's literally 2 points. Number one, while we are debating about our ancestry, foreigners are taking over our communities, and the total number of majority Black American cities are decreasing. Number two, something that's irrefutable. But the bald-headed brother, with all due respect, I don't know your name, not Unc, the other bald-headed brother. When I said collectively, we all have ancestors that were listed as freedmen. He says he doesn't, but then admitted that he has ancestors that are free slaves. Brother, that means you have ancestors that are freedmen. With all due respect. So we got to stop allowing irrefutable facts to distract us and really come together with our people on policies that benefit us collectively. Literally, that's all I wanted to say.
Ashe,
I
All right.
appreciate
Don't
you.
I
respond,
say,
Appreciate
man.
you,
I
Pan.
Don't
say,
I
respond.
oh,
Appreciate you.
wholeheartedly
You know
agree.
what? Y'all don't be mocking talking about Ashe, yo. I'm not fooling with y'all.
No,
No,
y'all
Dr.
I
can't mock
Dr.
me.
wholeheartedly
Dixon,
agree.
hold on. So, Dr. Dixon, I just want to say this. So, your point was you were just simply saying that the Spanish in the record said they look African, like African, but you weren't saying that they were African, correct?
No, I never said that.
Exactly.
But
And
that proves my point, though, Dr.
hold on,
Bob.
hold on. What you saying? Hold on. We got him on record. So what about this tribe you just mentioned? Who are they?
Now, okay, let me, by all means, let me explain to you
let them
who the
cook.
Wale people are.
Let them cook. Go ahead and cook, Dr.
All
Dixon.
right. The Wale people were the first group to fight back in the Spanish in what they call La Florida. They were the ones who destroyed, as we know, right, every European country that came into North America, their first settlement failed. With the Spanish, it was Gueldape. With the French, it was Fort Caroline, just north of Jacksonville. And then, of course, with the English, it was Roanoke. Now, what happened to Gueldape, which is present-day Chapalo Sound, Georgia? What happens is that the Wale attacked the settlement. Now, when they attacked the settlement, those that they had taken as enslaved began to set fires. And the question was initially, how did the ones who were enslaved in the settlement know to set fires at the right time when the others were attacking from the outside? Then information came in as we went through and got even more records where they said that there were sounds and yells and drumming and things of that communication between that happened just before the settlement was attacked, which means so at some point, at some tertiary place, we all have to agree that those who were enslaved inside of Gueldape had some knowledge of the people who were outside
Oh,
because
no.
they understood the drumming and the words that were being yelled,
No,
and
what are
they
you saying?
responded with
No,
fire.
no, what are
You
you
just
saying? Hold on, Doc. Hold on,
backtracked.
Dr.
He's
Dixon.
saying that the enslaved, because of that, what he just showed, he's saying that that is evidence that those enslaved people that brought over there had some type of knowing of who those people were because they recognized the sounds. See what I'm saying?
Was you saying they was African though, Doc? Was that what
I
you were
never
No,
saying?
he's
said
not
they were
saying that, bro.
African.
What you
I'm not.
saying?
See,
What you?
that's what
I
I'm
know. What are you
saying.
saying? You
I
gave the
am
long.
not getting What I'm saying
No,
is,
give me. Hold on, Doc. Let me say this.
the
I know how to
people
be
who
very. Hold on,
attacked the
Doc.
outside
Doc,
were
one second.
Yes.
I'm starting to feel slightly getting like you flamming a little bit.
Flam.
Yeah. Listen, let me say this. I don't want to be defensive. Listen to me, seriously.
Okay.
Oh, you have a comprehension issue, bro. He was quite clear. He said
I
more than
have a
once.
comprehensive issue. I do.
Bro,
And I'm saying that my brain work a little different. We want to
Okay.
know why you putting emphasis. Are you saying that these people are indigenous to the Americas and actually have something to do? Like, what's the purpose of saying it? What is the reason?
I'm
Make the
trying to
make the
tell
connection,
you.
Dr. Dickens.
Make the connection.
Okay, here's the connection.
Okay,
The Wale people, the Wale people are considered natives.
Okay.
Now, if that's not complaining enough.
No, we good. They was native. They was native. So what that mean? What are you telling us?
Okay, so what I'm saying is, here's the question then.
Right.
How did the people inside of Gueldape know to respond and start setting fires at the exact same time the Wale started attacking the settlement?
So they had to be familiar. So those people had to be
Thank
familiar.
you.
So you saying they familiar with, hold on. So you saying they familiar with African custom and traditions?
They had to
answer the question. Are you saying that?
with each other?
So you saying? So you saying? Hold on. So you
they had to be familiar with each other. That's all he's standing on. I listen well, bro.
Yeah, me too. So
all I'm standing on.
So what? So familiar from where though? How would you? Let me ask you this, because I know how to get to it.
It doesn't matter. Wait a minute.
No.
It doesn't matter from
Sir,
where.
listen,
It's
sir.
the fact that.
Sir, I'm doing you like they would do you when you was taught when you was getting your doctorate and they questioned you down. I'm kind of doing you like that. So watch this. Why? Seriously. This is important conversation because obviously nobody is really questioning. Then you get it all off, right? I'm saying. So when you're making this connection, you're basically trying to say what? Just say it. Say, yo, I'm trying to say that they knew about them.
I am trying to say.
Go ahead, sir.
I am trying to say that the Wale, who were considered natives, right, had a connection with the people that were inside, which means they were familiar with each other prior to Europeans coming to North America.
Trust me.
You
Now,
that is suggesting.
He said all that to say that, man. You could have said it.
If you want to go further, I could go further, but I'm not.
No, we want you to go far. You on tape.
Dr. Dixon, you agree that what you presented is speculative at best at this point.
I know, but y'all want to debate him.
It is
speculative.
But
y'all want to debate him because y'all think he
No, we don't want to debate him. Come on, Mulatto.
But that's the truth, though.
Yo, you wait a whole hour to say we argue. We're trying to learn from the
brother. Y'all want to debate him because y'all think he easy to beat up.
Someone explain to me at that, because there's another level. There's another level to it, and there was more evidence.
Take us there.
I'm not going there. What I'm
asking
every last one of you all, I'm asking every last one of y'all a general question.
No, Dr. Dixon, hold on. Dr. Dixon, listen. Since you do have a doctorate, we expect you at the highest levels to explain to us the evidence, because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to misconstrue what you're saying. That's all I'm saying. So I'm saying I'm not a kid. You can't lowboy me where, hey, yo, you're not going to understand it. I promise you, sir. I'm not doing everything you said to this point. Now, if you have more qualified evidence, you got to be able to give it to us, bro. This is not the Rock Newman show, yo. This ain't it. This the next generation right here. We want to hear what you're saying. And if you're right, you know what we're going to say? Man, that man changed our mind. That man was right, yo. We're going to say that, Doc.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Oh, come on, Doc.
You should.
No, you're not trying to be serious, though. That's the problem.
Listen, Doc.
Hey, hold on, fellas. Hold on, fellas. Hold on. Dr. Dixon, Look, I want if you could take this or move this conversation over to the community of skeptics, because I'm getting ready to get off.
Right. Good night.
I'm getting ready to get off.
Good show, dog. Very entertaining.
It was entertaining.
I'm ready to get off too. Here's my thing.
Dr. Dixon said he getting off too. He said he getting off too.
You better get off, Doc, because you had some more evidence you ain't give us, and I'm gonna make sure you remember that for the rest of the career.
And you not listening. I have
can't
told you
listen.
3 times. I have put my
dissertation
in the chat. I'm asking you to read it for yourself.
Where's that? Hold on, stop yelling. Put it right here in the back in the private.
Put it in the private chat.
What's the private? I don't.
Yeah, your name. I watch this. Look, watch this, Doc.
He getting ready to hit you up. He getting ready to hit you up, Doc.
Okay, no problem.
Right. Hold on. I just want to say this, fellas. I do appreciate everybody coming on and weighing in on the interview that I did with Dr. Gerald Horne. The folks who are hold on, can we all mute out? It's like I hear bad echo. It's bad. I'm gonna mute everybody. It's bad. Yeah, Doc. I think it's you. Hold on. No. There we go. Hold on. I am so I'm gonna mute you too. There we go, y'all. So now it's nice and we good. So I do want to thank you all for coming on and weighing in on the interview that I did with Dr. Gerald Horne. For the folks who are watching, make sure that you thumb up this video before you get out of here. Thumb it up. Also share this video. You know, Dr. Gerald Horne at the beginning, I had him on for roughly about an hour. He dropped a lot of great information on the history of Florida and slavery and the Black Seminoles. So make sure that you share this video. We want to each one teach one. And before you get out of here, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you will be notified. And also, family, join me back here next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace and Black excellence.
Let's combat and fight back with Meltrax. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.